Pasensya na muna yung all other classes, but I will have to acknowledge the snappy matatag class of 1971. All upperclassmen, underclassmen, past, present, and future cadet girls, the Cadet Corps, Armed Forces of the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Having experienced on many occasions in the past, as you do today, to stand under the heat of the sun, even at parade dress position, and listen to long speeches and messages that we seldom remember anyway, I thought I should deliver a short 15-minute speech as part of my assigned duties for the day. The famous Greek philosopher Socrates once wrote, "The greatest way to live with honor is to be what we pretend to be." Every time we set foot on this same ground where we now stand, either to march with cavaliers or during a spontaneous visit, reception day and plebhood easily dominate our retrospection. Then there's our exclusive honor system. In a flash, we are reminded of our cadet days. Thus, reception day shocked us to do away with all our civilian antics and weakness of spirit. Plebe year made us realize we were no longer boys but men of independence. Yearling year transformed us from uncomplaining obeyers to brute force leaders. Cow year mellowed us to become learners. First class year prepared us to become first class leaders of men. Everything else in between was all about honor without compromise. I have yet to hear of any learning institution, past or present, that instills honor amongst its students in its truest form and substance other than the Philippine Military Academy. We admit it is not perfect, but we are sure it is real. Sometime in September 2007, after getting re-elected for my second term as Senator of the Republic, a member of the PMA Cavalier magazine editorial staff invited me to write an essay for publication, the content of which was subject to the approval of the magazine's editorial board. Understandable and fair, I said to myself, considering that I was in politics and an active member of the opposition at that time. I did write a piece. Its title, "All Right, Sir, Quo Vadis, Cavalier." It never saw print. Reviewing my files, I could not find a paragraph or line in that essay that reeks of politics or which could possibly put in jeopardy the careers of those who would have a hand in allowing publication of that article. But, of course, I could be biased and subjective. Times have changed. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo is no longer the Commander-in-Chief. Jose Miguel Arroyo is no longer First Gentleman. While I have forgiven them and their cohorts for their individual and collective acts to malign my personal reputation and honor, I am quite sure I will not forget their names. Having been invited as your guest of honor and speaker on this treasured occasion, I thought of paraphrasing, even using several excerpts in that article as I address you today, my revered Cavaliers. Through all these years, the long gray line keeps getting longer. Many have fallen out of line, but many, many more have chosen to stay. For 4 years, our beloved alma mater imbibes in each and every cadet the virtues of courage, integrity, and loyalty. We find them extremely difficult to learn at first, but since cadets are all together at it, and in an environment made most conducive to being honorable, it has become more of a source of pride in us all. And so comes graduation and the real cruel world thereafter. The idealist is still very much armed with the academic virtues, suddenly comes face to face with practically everything that is opposite of what was taught in the hallowed grounds of Fort del Pilar: corruption, treachery, cowardice. So, when the young graduates encounter in their fields of assignment some upperclassmen who have already succumbed to the temptations of misplaced values or have countenanced such commissions, the effects could be very frustrating, if not disastrous. More than 40 years ago, I stepped out of the gates of the Philippine Military Academy as a fresh graduate. Joining the now defunct Philippine Constabulary, I was in my 20s then. I was young, eager, and with a burning idealism to perform a duty for which I was prepared during the 4 long and arduous years as a cadet, to serve and protect our country and people. There was a joke then that joining the Philippine Constabulary was the fastest way to forget the PMA motto: courage, integrity, loyalty. 20 years later, we were decommissioned from the armed forces of the Philippines, no longer soldiers, but members of a civilian police force. 8 years after, I found myself at the helm of an organization I never even imagined I would someday be part of. Rightly or wrongly, we were generally perceived as a bunch of ICUs, inept, corrupt, undisciplined. With much help from Cavaliers, who were likewise absorbed as members of the Philippine National Police, the pot-bellied policemen became uniformly fit and trim, not more than 34 inches in their midsection. Not only did our policemen stop their cotton culture, they were in fact arresting civilian traffic enforcers, preying on hapless public utility drivers and ordinary motorists. In a short span of 2 weeks, upon my assumption as Chief PNP, 650 recovered carnap vehicles were returned to the rightful owners by those who used to enjoy driving them as if they owned them. It was all because, etched in our hearts and minds at that time, as with most graduates of this institution, was an ironclad commitment to protect the name and integrity of our beloved alma mater. Those who, up to this very moment, still remain in the long gray line, not just to visit Fort del Pilar and march and socialize with Mistas and Cavaliers, but more so because they feel proud of that commitment, I am absolutely sure know and feel what I am saying. Every single day of our lives after graduation becomes a test of endurance, not of physical, but of our moral strength. We wake up in the morning And while facing our own image in the mirror, we prepare for the day that is just unfolding. We reflect on our thoughts and ask ourselves if yesterday was good and honorable. But that shouldn't be enough. Thus, we must be ready as in all the days that pass for that time-honored challenge only we, Cavaliers, know by heart. All right, sir. We do not wait to be challenged by another Cavalier, for the real test is a challenge to ourselves, both at the start and at the end of the day. We say, all right, sir, when no one is looking. And when the sun is about to set on us, we pass the baton to the next generation of Cavaliers, hoping that the legacy lives on. Never mind us in my generation. We think more of how life would end than life itself. At best, what else we can do for our country and people for the remaining years of our lives. But to our young Cavaliers at the far end of the long gray line, as well as those who dream more of the future than ponder on the past, I say to you, there is no better feeling than one of self-respect, dignity, and pride that our beloved alma mater so arduously taught us for the 4 most difficult yet memorable years of our lives. Let us not squander it. Having exited from the gates of Fort del Pilar will and must never give us the false sentiment of freedom from the bounds of the honor system. When bribe is offered, or when an opportunity to steal presents itself, even when nobody is looking and the possibility of getting caught is nil, there is only one thing that we must remember: a unique honor system that tells us this: self-respect is far more precious than all the material things that money can buy. It may be easier said than done, but if somebody tells you it is impossible to do, do not believe him. Simply said, it is about not subduing our conscience. It is all that matters in this life. My beloved Cavaliers, when the PMA band has stopped playing and we all leave Borromeo Field after our march today, when we bid each other goodbye, it is our fervent prayer that in the next alumni parade, everybody will still be accounted for. Let us always pray that no church bells will be rung and no taps will be sung for anyone who has marched with us today, either in spirit or in flesh and blood, shoulder to shoulder, and in the same snappy cadence that we just did in today's alumni parade. Lest I forget and commit a serious mistake of passing upon the luster of today's event, I take this opportunity to express my sincerest congratulations to this year's Cavalier awardees and all those who were awarded the same in the previous years, but most of all, to all Cavaliers whose courage, integrity, and loyalty remain etched in their hearts, minds, and souls. I would like to end my speech with a simple quote from John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Do not pray for easy lives. Pray to be stronger men. Thank you very much and good morning to everyone.